The polished corridors of the Titan Viscount's orbital mansion were a study in silent wealth. The only sounds were the whisper of air scrubbers and the faint hum of the station's colossal engines. In a sunroom that looked out upon the swirling blue gas giant of Celis Prime, a young boy sat perfectly still by a grand old earth acoustic piano. Its rich walnut finish was an anomaly among the sterile chrome. The boy's fingers traced the edge of the keys, but did not press them. He was blind, his eyes a milky, unfocused blue, and the piano, a gift from a mother long departed, was a monument he was forbidden to touch. Your father believes the discordant noise will agitate your nerves, the butler had explained, not unkindly, many times. The boy's father, a magnate whose wealth was built on precision mining drones, valued order above all. Music, especially the unpredictable journey of learning it, was chaos. The new maid observed this daily ritual. She was a human from a colony world known for its artists and musicians, a profession deemed frivolous here. Her uniform was crisp gray, her movements efficient and quiet. But she had seen the longing in the boy's stilled hands. One afternoon, as she dusted the piano's lid, she spoke, her voice softer than her usual professional tone. "It's a beautiful instrument. A Bechstein. It has a voice like warm honey and sunlight." The boy started, turning his head toward her. "You know pianos?" "I do. My mother tuned them. My father played." She paused, a rule already crumbling within her. "Would you like to hear its voice?" A slow, eager nod was his reply. She lifted the fallboard, sat on the very edge of the bench, and played a simple, ascending C major scale. The notes filled the sunroom, pure and resonant. The boy's face transformed. It was as if someone had illuminated him from within. "It feels like liquid light," he whispered. That was how it began. Secretly, during the father's long operational meetings, she would guide his small hands onto the keys. She started not with sheet music, but with sensation. "This is middle C. It's the home. Feel how the keys are grouped? 2 black, then 3, then 2 again. Find the sets of 2. She taught him to listen, to let his fingers learn the geography of sound. He was a natural, his hearing preternaturally acute, his touch delicate. They spoke in hushed tones. He told her of the sounds of the station, the rhythmic thrum of machinery he had mapped into internal songs. She told him of music that sounded like rainstorms, like heartbeats, like laughter. She called him young sir, and he, knowing the risk, never uttered her name aloud. She was his secret, and he was hers. For months, the sunroom became a sanctuary. He learned simple melodies, then chords, and the left-hand patterns of old earth blues. The piano, once silent, now whispered fragments of Bach minuets and melancholy folk tunes during the mansion's emptiest hours. The staff turned a kind, blind eye. Everyone, it seemed, understood the unspoken crime of denying a boy this one joy. The inevitable discovery came not through sound, but through schedule. The magnate returned early from a shareholder summit, his mind buzzing with profit margins and yield reports. As he passed the sunroom, a unfamiliar, halting but unmistakably musical phrase drifted out, a simplified rendition of Beethoven's Ode to Joy. It was clumsy, full of pauses, but brimming with feeling. He stopped, a coldness seizing him. He peered through the slight door opening. There was his son, his face alight with concentration, his small hands moving with deliberate care over the forbidden keys. And beside him, the maid, her gray uniformed shoulder almost touching his, her fingers poised to guide, her lips moving in quiet instruction. The magnate did not burst in. He did not raise his voice. The coldness solidified into a hard, furious certainty. He watched for a full minute, then retreated on silent. Expensive shoes. The maid was summoned to his private study after her shift. The room was vast, dominated by a window framing the relentless mining operations on Celis Prime's rings. He stood with his back to her, a silhouette against industry. "You have been teaching my son the piano," he stated. It was not a question. "Yes, sir." Her voice did not tremble. "You knowingly disobeyed the household's explicit rule." "I did, sir." He turned. His face was not red with rage, but pale with a controlled, deep offense. "You introduced chaos into his structured therapy. You exploited his vulnerability for your own sentimental whims." She met his gaze. "I introduced beauty, sir, and discipline of a different kind. He is not agitated. He is joyful." "Joy is not a quantifiable metric of improvement," the magnate said coldly. "You are terminated. Your belongings have been packed. A shuttle departs for the transfer station in 1 hour. You will not see or speak to my son again." She absorbed the blow without flinching, but her heart sank like a stone. "May I at least say goodbye to him?" "Absolutely not. Your influence ends now. Security will see you to your shuttle." As she was escorted out, she passed the sunroom. The boy was there, his head tilted, waiting for her. He could not see her pass, but he sensed the disruption in the air, the unfamiliar footfalls. "Hello?" He called out, his voice tinged with worry. She was not allowed to answer. The silence returned to the sunroom. The boy returned the next day, and the day after, but the bench was empty. The piano was just a cold, polished object again. His father had not mentioned the maid, the music, or her dismissal. It was as if she had never existed. The boy's world, which had briefly expanded into color and vibration, shrank back into a dark, orderly box. A week later, the magnate entered the sunroom. His son was at the window, his forehead pressed to the cool glass. "Your maid was dismissed for insubordination," the father said, his tone final. The boy did not turn. "She taught me to see," he said, his voice thin but clear. "Nonsense. She taught you to make noise." Finally, the boy faced him, his milky eyes somehow piercing. "You are wrong, father. Before, I only heard sounds. Now I understand music. They are not the same. She showed me the difference. And now you have taken it away." The raw, unaccusatory pain in his son's voice struck the magnate with a force a shout never could. He had solved the problem, removed the variable, yet here was a new, more distressing result. A profound, quiet grief. He had prided himself on providing every physical aid, every sensory enhancement technology could offer. But he had provided nothing that mattered to the boy's spirit. The magnate left the room unsettled. For days, his son's words echoed. He reviewed security footage, not of the disobedience, but of the lessons. He saw the focus on his son's face, the developing coordination, the moments when a phrase was mastered and a smile, rare and true, would break through. He saw the maid's patience, her methodical guidance. It was not chaos. It was a meticulous construction of skill. It was, he was forced to admit, engineering of a sort. A month after the dismissal, the magnate did something that shocked the entire household, and later, his corporate board. He traveled to the colony world of Lyra 3, a place he had always dismissed as unserious. He found the maid, not in a concert hall, but helping in her family's small instrument repair shop. Her surprise at seeing him was total. "I have come," he began stiffly, the words unfamiliar in his mouth, "to make a proposition. A professional contract." She listened, wary. "My son has lost his joy. His progress in other areas has regressed. I misjudged the value of your instruction. I am offering you a permanent, highly paid position as his live-in tutor. Your sole focus will be his musical education. You will have a full budget for any materials or instruments. The piano rule is rescinded." She studied the titan of industry, seeing not anger now, but a rigid, uncomfortable humility. You fired me for giving him lessons. Now you want to hire me back to do the same thing? Yes. He clasped his hands behind his back. I analyzed the results. The data on his cognitive engagement, motor skill development, and emotional regulation during your sessions was positive. I was incorrect. It was the closest to an apology she would get. But she saw the truth behind it. He had, in his own clinical way, listened. He had changed his mind. For his son. On one condition, she said. The lessons are not just for him. You must attend 1 session a week. You must sit and listen. He recoiled slightly. That is not necessary. It is the condition, she said firmly. He stared at her, then gave a single sharp nod. Agreed. And so the maid returned. The boy's world flooded with light and sound once more. The lessons resumed, now official, filling the mansion with scales and sonatas. And once a week, true to the contract, the magnate would sit in the sunroom, back straight, datapad forgotten. At first, he simply listened to the mechanics. But slowly, as his son's playing grew more confident, weaving complex feelings into the notes, the magnate began to hear. He heard the loneliness, the longing, and then the triumph, the joy. He heard the story he had been too busy to listen to. One evening, after a piece that was particularly haunting and beautiful, the magnate did not immediately stand to leave. He looked at his son, truly looked, and saw not a patient to be managed, but an artist. His son. That was very good, he said, the words awkward but genuine. The boy smiled, his fingers resting on the keys. Thank you, Father. It is called Clair de Lune. It's about moonlight. The magnate looked from his son's face to the maid, who gave a slight, encouraging nod. He turned his gaze to the viewport, to the dark, silent vacuum. For the first time, he thought it looked less like infinity to be conquered,